Welcome to this explainer. Look, today we are diving deep into a topic that, let's be honest, almost all of us struggle with at some point. But we're going to look at it through the lens of cold, hard science. We're exploring the neuropsychology of procrastination. We'll uncover exactly why our brains seem so incredibly determined to self-sabotage, and much more importantly, how we can scientifically fix it without just relying on sheer brute force willpower. Okay, let's get right into it.
So, I want to kick things off with a question that has definitely crossed your mind when you're staring down a looming deadline. Are you really just lazy? Well, let's immediately dismantle that myth right out of the gate. The scientific literature completely reframes procrastination. It is not a moral shortcoming, and it's definitely not a fundamental deficiency in time management. Instead, what we're really looking at is a highly specific biological and emotional regulation failure. Basically, your brain is prioritizing immediate mood repair over your long-term goals.
Now, what's really fascinating is just how common and deeply ingrained this actually is. Up to 25%, literally a quarter of all adults, suffer from chronic procrastination. And behavioral genetics research shows us that this isn't just some bad habit you picked up along the way. It's a stable personality trait. In fact, roughly 22% of the variance in trait procrastination is actually hereditary. It's biologically anchored and strongly tied to the Big Five personality structure, specifically showing a negative correlation with conscientiousness.
And to further prove that this isn't just some modern failure brought on by smartphones and social media distractions, we can actually look back to history. The ancient Greeks even had a word for it, akrasia. It describes the state of acting against one's own better judgment. This tells us that this self-defeating behavioral pattern is a fundamental human struggle that has literally been with us for millennia.
Section 1. The myth of laziness and redefining the delay.
Since procrastination is such a deeply historical and heavily biological issue, we really need to clearly define what this delay actually looks like in practice. Because, not all delay is created equal. We have to separate procrastination from strategic delay. Strategic delay is deliberate. It optimizes your resources and actually leaves you feeling proactive and organized. Procrastination, on the flip side, is voluntary, completely unnecessary, and results in intense levels of guilt, dread, and anxiety. So why do we choose the one that makes us feel terrible? Well, it comes down to the mood repair theory. When you face a difficult task, it triggers anxiety or boredom. Procrastination is simply your brain turning away from that task to seek an immediate emotional escape, like, say, checking your phone. Your brain experiences a sudden drop in distress, which acts as a wildly powerful reward, and boom, this creates a toxic, self-reinforcing loop of habitual delay.
Section 2. Your brain's tug of war.
To see why this loop is so incredibly tough to break, let's actually look at the physical tug-of-war happening inside your head right this second. On one side, we have the limbic system, featuring the amygdala. This is ancient, it's automatic, and it is designed purely for immediate survival. When you look at a stressful task, the amygdala treats that cognitive discomfort as a literal physical threat, flooding your system with cortisol and adrenaline. On the other side is the prefrontal cortex, specifically the dorsolateral prefrontal cortex. This is your logical center. It strives to maintain focus on those abstract, long-term goals. But here's the catch, it's slower. When you're stressed, the amygdala triggers what we call an amygdala hijack, easily overriding the rational prefrontal cortex and demanding an immediate escape. And this is especially severe for individuals with ADHD, who already experience reduced activity in the prefrontal cortex, making it even harder to resist that emotional hijack.
Section 3. The future self disconnect.
This structural battle gets exponentially worse thanks to our brain's neurochemical biases. Now don't worry, we're going to playfully brush right past the heavy math of this temporal discounting equation here. But the absolute crucial point of this hyperbolic model is to show mathematically how our brains severely devalue rewards the further away they are in time. Neuroimaging gives us a fascinating reason for this. When you think about your present self, a part of your brain called the medial prefrontal cortex lights up. But when you think about your future self, the poor one who actually has to deal with the consequences of your procrastination, activation in that area drops significantly. The neural patterns actually match what happens when you think about a complete stranger. Your brain literally views your future self as someone else entirely, which makes it incredibly easy to just dump your current stress right onto them. Section 4. Monkeys, monsters, and pressure. To truly wrap our heads around this, the writer Tim Urban created this absolutely brilliant cognitive metaphor that translates these dense neurobiological processes into a highly relatable framework. He describes the procrastinator's mind as having 3 key characters. First up, the rational decision maker. This represents your prefrontal cortex, trying to steer you toward productive work. Second, you have the instant gratification monkey, representing your limbic system, who only cares about what is easy and fun right now.
When you try to do hard work, the monkey hijacks the wheel, dragging you into what Urban calls the dark playground, a place of unearned leisure just filled with guilt and self-hatred. And the only thing the monkey is afraid of is the third character, the panic monster, which is your threat response network. The panic monster only wakes up when a deadline is terrifyingly close, scaring the monkey away so you can finally get to work. Urban uses this cast of characters to highlight a supercritical and honestly dangerous distinction. Bounded procrastination is when you have an external deadline, like a school exam or a big work project. Eventually, the panic monster wakes up. But unbounded procrastination? That is terrifying. This applies to things with no external deadlines, improving your physical health, starting a business, or maintaining relationships. Because there's no deadline, the panic monster stays asleep forever. The monkey can just delay these vital life goals indefinitely, silently destroying your long-term dreams and creating massive regret down the road.
And you know, this leads perfectly into dismantling a massive lie we all tell ourselves to justify our delay, the myth that we work better under pressure. Science explains this through the Yerkes-Dodson law. Yes, as a deadline nears, rising arousal does push you into an optimal zone of focus, but waiting for the panic monster to take over pushes you way past that peak, into extreme over-arousal. The flood of cortisol actually impairs your prefrontal cortex, drastically reducing your working memory and your analytical accuracy. You don't work better, you just rush, make errors, and suffer severe physical and mental exhaustion.
Section 5. Rewiring your brain.
So if relying on raw willpower is basically a biological mismatch, and waiting for late-stage panic is scientifically flawed, how on earth do we actually empower ourselves to break the cycle? We have to target the brain's hardware using specific operational strategies. Practicing self-compassion and forgiveness isn't just some nice feel-good idea. It has a key neurobiological target. It actively lowers cortisol and deactivates your threat defense system, allowing your rational brain to regain control. Mindfulness meditation is even more incredible. An 8-week program literally alters the physical structure of your brain, visibly shrinking the amygdala so it reacts less violently to difficult tasks. And temptation bundling, which is pairing a difficult task with an immediate reward, like listening to your favorite music, satisfies the limbic system's desperate search for dopamine.
Next up, we need to completely bypass decision fatigue. Psychologist Peter Gollwitzer developed what are called implementation intentions, or if-then plans. You identify a situational cue, define a micro-action, and put them together. For example, if I finish my coffee on Sunday morning, then I will immediately open my laptop and write one single sentence. Studies show that predetermining your actions like this automates task initiation and can dramatically increase your follow-through, jumping from around 32% to an amazing 71%.
And finally, I absolutely love this concept from Dr. Tim Peichel. He calls it next action self-deception. When you are completely paralyzed by a massive project, you ask yourself, what is the absolute next action I would take if I were going to do this, even though I am not actually going to? By framing the very next tiny physical action as a mere hypothetical possibility, you trick your brain. Your amygdala's threat alarm remains completely silent because, hey, you're not actually going to do it. But once you perform that tiny action, like simply clicking open a document, the friction is broken and natural momentum takes over.
So here's the big takeaway from this explainer. You are not fundamentally lazy. You are biologically wired to avoid discomfort, and your emotional brain is just staging a false alarm to protect you. But now you have the operational strategies to calm that alarm down. So I'll leave you with this final provocative thought. Knowing everything we've just uncovered, what is the one tiny, 2-minute step you can take right now? Just one micro action to finally help your future self out.